welcome to Inside the Birds Postgame Live, presented by my bookie. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with my bookie. Another game, another masterclass in the trenches for the Philadelphia Eagles. They go to 3-0 with a 25-11 win on Monday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Bucs at Raymond James Stadium. Guys, they are atop the NFC East yet again. I'm Geoff Mosher alongside my co-host Adam Caplan, and we're joined, of course, as we are all season long, by former Eagles tight end Clay Harbor. I don't know. We might just sound like a broken record. Another masterclass in the trenches, another dominant battle up front. But Adam said this going into the game. He couldn't have been more right. If the Eagles were going to win, they're going to win the game up front. That's how they've been winning. That's how they won this game. Big thing to remember as the Eagles go ahead here in the NFC East, no team has repeated as division champion in 17 years. The Eagles are trying to become the first to do it in a long time, and now they stand alone atop the division. Adam, I'll start with you. What is your big takeaway, as we always do with this show, where we just look at a big picture step back? What was your takeaway from this game?
Two things. By the way, it would be 19 years. It'd be not
2003, 2004 Eagles were the last team to repeat. So what is this, 2023? So that don't, but you're right. My math was bad. That would be 19 years.
Yeah, so not your 20 years. So absolute dominance. In fact, I'm going to steal a Hertz term, meat left on the bone. My goodness gracious, they should have scored way more than 25. They absolutely dominated this football team from pillar to post. Their defense is terrific. We'll get to that later. I don't think Hertz is real sharp. He had the two picks. One might have been Swift might have made a mental error because he thought, as Troy Aikman pointed out, looked like Swift should have been in one area, Hertz threw it to another, but the pick downfield was clearly on Hertz, forcing the ball downfield. But overall, I don't think he was super sharp. Still got the job done. Still some big plays, which you love. And one of the reasons why I thought they'd get back to their passing game was some more traditional defense. The first two defenses they faced were the same scheme. The Belichick scheme run by Belichick and then Brian Flores last week. And you're not facing that defense. No one else runs it. And this is Todd Bowles. They know this guy. We talked about this in the pregame. This is different than Bowles is facing a different team. A.J. Brown is the difference. Hertz is the difference. Hertz is a way better quarterback than he faced 2 years ago. And of course, they're not facing Brady. So the Eagles came in here 5.5 point favorite. I thought that was very fair. But quite frankly, Eagles should have scored more than 25. They're kicking too many field goals. But you know what? They won the game. Sirianni's now 15-4 on the road in the National Football League as a head coach. Best record in the National Football League on the road the last two seasons.
Wow, that's incredible. Clay, what was your big takeaway after watching this game?
I thought that watching the Eagles, they didn't even play their best football. And for them to not play their best football and to beat a 2-0 team 25-11, that's pretty impressive. It's like what Adam said. There was some meat left on the bone. There was some food left in that dish. And the fact that they still won 25-11 when this was far from a perfect game is what I liked. And I also liked Dallas Goedert. Not a crazy game for him, but the guy had 2 catches for 20 yards. Was the Eagles' third leading receiver. You needed to see someone besides Brown step up, someone besides Devontae step up. Goddard got in there. Zaccheaus got in there. It showed that there's some other weapons because at some point in the season, you're going to need some other receivers. 2 games in, nobody else was scoring. Nobody else was making any plays. So I love to see Goddard get back on track. I love to see Zaccheaus with a big-time touchdown. And then obviously, the big thing was the run game. This team looks like they can run the ball on anybody. A run game makes everything easier, makes Jalen Hurts' life easier, makes that defense life easier. You control the game. You can win 25-11 on a day you didn't play. So, Adam, there were some holes you could have ran through.
I know. The one up the middle. Clay, it's funny you say that because I almost texted Jeff. I think, dude, you could get to 10 yards out of retirement. Clay, let me ask you a question on a game like this. When your line is getting off like it did and they're running the ball like that, what's the feeling in the huddle on the sidelines when you're dominating on the ground like that?
It's a great feeling. It's just like you can impose your will. It's an up to chance. You have to sling the ball around. It's just this inside confidence when you can run the ball. You always go back to that. There was a couple of games back 2010. I remember against Dallas, like 4-minute. We knew we were going to get 5 yards a pop. Just you build confidence as an offense. Everybody is just, all right, you hear the run call, sometimes the receiver, everybody's in on it. Okay, it's a good call. We're going to get 5 yards right here. It's a good feeling. It just gives you much more confidence knowing you can run the ball like that. You don't have to worry about the scheme. What play are we coming up with next? Are we going to go to our play action game? No, we're gonna keep running at them. We're gonna run zone. And honestly, some of the times, yeah, the offensive line did a good job, but I feel like they were just out scheming the Buccaneers. Like you have 3 guys blocking 2 up front, and we'll see the all 22. I mean, me and Cassell will talk about that on Wednesday. We see the full film, but they were getting out schemed a lot there. There was some out of place defenders, and I think Todd Bowles is gonna have to really look at some things in the ground game.
Clay, you were on the Eagles team, I believe, in 2012 that went down to Tampa and ran the ball behind a guy named Bryce Brown, right, for 178 yards. It almost felt a little bit like DeAndre Swift was the latest version of Bryce Brown, except I think DeAndre Swift's a better running back and proven to be. But similar feel in that he was just running all over the Bucs that day.
Oh, absolutely. While we're at it, Jeff, can you look and see the rest of the stats there? See how many
somebody might have caught a touchdown that day. His last name
6
might
catches,
rhyme
right?
with
If
Farber.
I remember right, that game I had 6 catches for 70. Check the stats. You got the stats. 6 catches, 70 yards, and the touchdowns against the Bucs in 2012. Brent Selleck went down with concussion on the first play of the drive. I remember being kind of pissed off. Marty Mornwig in the playbook. I'm like, man, we ain't running no 12 personnel this week. I'm like, I ain't doing. I'm on like 2 special teams. I'm like, man, I'm not even gonna sweat. One of those days, and all of a sudden, you're on Clay. What? You're like strapping up your helmet. Selleck's out. Oh man, Brent's out with a concussion. I ended up having to play the full game.
So wait, you knew going in in your meetings that you guys are going to run heavy 11. Wow, that's interesting. Okay,
heavy 11. You look at the game.
That was
plan.
Andy Reid. Of course, they were going to be heavy.
Yeah, sure.
You look at the game plan those weeks. You know what you're going in with. You know what you're going to attack them, and sometimes that can completely shift. You line up once in 12 personnel, and those guys see, they're playing nickel to 12, and the alignment. Right. It's an inches game. If you think you can get an inch in one personnel, you're going to stick to that. But yeah, going into the game, you know what personnel groups you're going to major in. Like that game, I thought we're going all 11. Wasn't going to play much. Selleck ended up going out. But like you said, Bryce Brown, huge game. You're imposing your will, and it just opens up the playbook. And me, I had one of my better games because of it. Obviously, I was never a starter, but that game I ended up having 6 catches and a touchdown because you established the run game. And we came back from behind. I think that was Foles' first game as a starter. Game-winning touchdown to Jeremy Mack on the corner of the end zone. We were very good that year. I think we won 4 or 5 games. But when in that particular game, you establish the run, it opens everything up. It's in a tight end. Makes life real easy because you run some play action. The linebacker step up. You get in right behind him. You get an easy 10 yards. It affects everything on the offense when you can run the football.
Hey,
you nailed it. Yeah.
Real quick, the Eagles have run for 460 yards the last 2 weeks. 460. Swift, 305.
Yes, Swift 305. I do recall saying when the Eagles traded for him that it wouldn't surprise me that if he did emerge as the primary ball carrier, that you could look at him as maybe a late second round deep draft pick, and he's certainly putting up those numbers now, an RB2 type numbers, but that's just for the fantasy geeks. A lot of people made fun of me for it, but you know what? He's up there with anybody over the last 2 weeks in rushing yards.
You know what I love is they protected Swift. They pulled him out in the fourth quarter. Kenny Grindwell grinded it out at the fourth quarter, which is exactly what they should have done. This is what I call for, if you recall, in our pregame. If they get a lead in the fourth quarter by 10 or more, which they did, let Gainwell grind out carries, which he did, and that's exactly what you needed.
100%. Now, the game Clay was referencing way back when that he played in, and you nailed it on the head. 6 for 52 and a touchdown. You guys were not very good that year, won 4 games. That was one of them. Nick Foles did hit Jeremy Maclin with 1 second left to win the game. Now, I'll tell you this, that game and the last time before that, when the Eagles were in Tampa in 2006 and lost on a 61-yard field goal by Matt Bryant, I was there for both of those games, is one of the reasons that in the pregame show tonight, I said there's just something weird about the Eagles going down to Tampa. And here, that game you played in was started by Josh Freeman. The game that they lost in 06 was started by Bruce Gradkowski. And here's Baker Mayfield, right? Another journeyman quarterback. I had bad vibes. I said the Eagles were the way better team, but I did predict the Buccaneers to win in one of those crazy games. I was wrong. I'll tell you this, though. The Eagles last year had 70 sacks. They set a team record. They were the most dominant front four in football from a sack standpoint last year. I will say this front four is shaping up to be even better and more balanced and deeper than even last year's. They will not get 70 sacks because they're not going to need to. Nobody's been able to run against them so far, and quarterbacks are literally running and throwing the ball away within a second and a half of the snap, which is why they probably won't get 70 sacks, but they are every bit as deep and talented as they were last year. No Javon Hargrave, Jalen Carter in. They are a far better run defense, and that is putting in offense in a lot of hard to manage second and third downs, which has been the key to their defense so far. All
Absolutely.
right. No, but I left you guys speechless. I'm glad.
No,
That's good. We're rocking here. Let's talk a little bit about the Eagles offense, because Tampa Bay was aggressive. They did come out blitzing at times. They zone blitz. They used Devin White as a spy. I mean, they did exactly what we expected them to do because of their head coach, Todd Bowles. This is what he does. They did lose Jamel Dean in the third quarter, and they were already down Carlton Davis, so that was rough for them. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts, because he played efficiently, but he did turn the ball over twice. And even on the pass to Zacchaeus for the touchdown that put him up 10-3, it seems like he's holding on to the ball a little bit longer than he did last year. And I don't know if it's indecision. I don't know if it's coverage. It could be a combination of everything. But Clay, he took a hit on that play, and he took a lot of hits as a passer. We used to talk about him taking too many hits as a runner. I think he's taken a little bit too many hits as a passer over the first 3 games.
Yeah, for having an offensive line as good as he does, he has been holding on to the ball awfully long. And that's something, when you're one of those guys up front, I'm like, hey, man, you got to protect us. Because you think when people, they don't really watch the game, they turn on the highlights, whatever, they see, oh, Jalen Hurts hit 5 times, Jalen Hurts hurried 3. Yeah, you're gonna be hit when you hold on to the ball for 5 seconds. These guys are actually doing a nice job up front. Obviously, Lane Johnson keeps getting better. I was watching the game with a buddy, and Jason Kelsey, I go, dude, that guy was in my draft class actually the year after, but he is still getting it done at that level. I go, this is unbelievable how efficient these guys have been. But I agree, Hurts was efficient today, and like Adam alluded to earlier, that definitely was a mental error. One of the guys was wrong. He was expecting Swift to go a certain way. I don't know if it was an option route or if it was just a mental error, but whatever happened, they weren't on the same page. And that's something you got to improve on. But definitely, he wasn't clean. He wasn't as efficient. I mean, a 71 rating for Jalen Hurts is something we haven't become accustomed to seeing. That's what I'd expect to see out of Justin Fields in Chicago.
Baker
Obviously
Mayfield.
not the 277. Yeah, Baker Mayfield. But yeah, I think they gotta get that going a little bit. He's got to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker. But I think they can. I think they will. But like we said before, if you run the ball, a lot of that doesn't even matter. You can just manhandle the team.
Yeah, and Adam, we talked in the pregame show specifically about A.J. Brown on the sideline voicing his displeasure. You knew the coaches were going to get A.J. Brown involved, and from the opening drive, he caught 2 balls, and then of course, it sort of settled down, but then picked right back up, and he finishes with his best game so far of the 3 weeks. 9 catches, 131 yards, 14.6 per reception. I think the Zacchaeus game touchdown obviously broke it open, or at least started to create distance. It was a wonderful throw. Absolutely. But what they were able to getting the ball to Goddard and AJ Brown over the course of the second, third, and early fourth helped them pull away.
Oh, no doubt. And Carlton Davis being out for the Bucs, the Eagles went after it. Then another corner got hurt. You saw a couple guys that probably shouldn't have been playing for the Bucs, and it's funny they threw it late. I was like, what are they throwing it for? They're up so big. But they just wanted to milk clock and then run another series of plays and force the Bucs either to call timeout or just to bleed the clock. So anyway, they did that. It did rain. It wound up raining second and third quarter. We'll have to talk to people there and see if they felt it impacted it. But Zacchaeus, great scramble drill, great throw. Hurts got planted. That was a big time. That's what we call a look down the gun barrel throw. That means the quarterback's got someone coming right at him. He knows he's going to get hit, and he throws it anyway. And that's just a great throw. So that was good to see him do that. But look, they scored 25 points. Jake Elliott's been awesome. The hold, by the way, has been great. Braden Mann was holding very well that operation, so that got solved.
In the rain, by the way, that's important to note.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
right during the rain.
tough.
Yeah, the operation was terrific. We're told it was actually very good in practice, so everything's good there. And look, overall, they still scored 25 points against a very good defense with meat really left on the bone. And Hurts, I think, if we're all being honest here, was not very sharp. Wasn't bad. I mean, it's better than average, but nothing special. Nothing like last year, though. Because Clay talked about it. When he is on, that ball is out and he's decisive. I think he's still looking for that home run throw. And by the way, one of the things I did like by what Brian Johnson did put in here, he put in throws to Goddard short over the middle. A.J. Brown, they hit him on a bang 8 over the middle, which is the Titans play, which we saw for many years. They put some of those in there. Good to see that. But overall, Hurts has just got to be a little bit sharper going forward.
Yeah, Clay, to piggyback off what Adam said, I had some questions after watching both the Patriots, but also the Vikings tape about certain play calls and route designs on third down or when the blitz was coming. A couple of times I thought maybe there was not enough short stuff, not enough blitz counter against those two teams to give Jalen Hurts a quicker outlet. I thought today, and again, we'll all have to see the tape come out, but it did feel like Jalen had those options today, whether they were quick comebacks or crossers or bang 8s, as Adam mentioned. Did that stick out to you at all?
Yeah, that's definitely something, when you're facing a defense that blitzes or that just has a great defensive line, it can get a lot of pressure. Coaches will talk about it in game plan. It's like, hey, we're running a lot of quick game today, or we're running a lot of, 5-step, but 5 quick. This isn't 5 long, this is 5 quick and out to make sure you combat that pressure. And then pretty much every play, if it's a 5-man, 6-man protection, even 7-man, if you're doing seeing a zero blitz, but has some sort of a blitz outlet. But if a certain player comes, then the tight end maybe has to stay in. The running back that would have been the outlet has to stay out. But instead of trying to pick up the blitz, I think today they're more of, all right, you're running past him, you're going to get to your hot routes. You have hot, you don't have blitz pickup. So you switch it up, and it's all based on a game plan. That's something they must have saw on tape. Hey, I think we don't worry about picking up the outside line. We don't worry about helping on this guy. We're getting out to the flat, and we're going quick.
That sounds also a little Andy Reidian sometimes. We're not going to help our offensive line. We're just going to give our quarterback a lot more outlets. But
hey, by the way, their protection, I just want to say their protection tonight was terrific. I mean, I thought it
was good.
I don't think you could ask for much more against that defense. I just wanted to put that out there because, yeah, they only scored 25. I say only 25 against a good defense, but their protection was so good. You just wish Hurts would have been a little bit more, probably just more accurate.
And by the way, the second interception he threw, that was a great play by the cornerback to jump in front of it. Now, maybe the ball could have been thrown a little bit better, but that wasn't like it wasn't like against Minnesota when he threw it right into the teeth of a cover 2 and you wonder what he's looking at and what he's seeing. That was a decent throw and just a really, really good play by a backup cornerback thrust into the moment. So nice
Delaney.
job on that.
Yeah.
Delaney. So one other observation, I thought we did a really good job of illustrating in the pregame show, and it wound up true to form, is that we said even with DeAndre Swift having all those carries against the Vikings in that huge game, we expected a close to 50-50 carry share with Swift and Gainwell because, or at least a 50-50 snap share, right? Because of what Tampa Bay does up front. We know Gainwell's a little bit better of a pass protector. At halftime, I believe the snaps were even. I know the carries were even at 5 and 5. The only difference was Gainwell averaged about 3 yards a carry, and Swift was averaging 7.5. And then you look at the end of the game, one has 16 carries, the other has 14. Clearly, Swift was the guy for the third quarter. And then, as Adam mentioned, Gainwell was the grinder, and he got those carries at the end. But again, it just goes to show what Adam and I have been talking about with when you have a guy who has as much juice and explosion as DeAndre Swift, week 1 still remains a head scratcher to us because, I mean, you look at the average per carry for DeAndre Swift is 8.1, the average for Kenny Gainwell 3.1, and it's pretty clear which guy should be your main guy when you need to move the chains.
And I'll remember something I was in early on, I think it was in 2010, and Marty Morningwig's talking to Shady and Leonard Weaver, and he's telling, he always tells stories at the beginning of meetings, and he's like, coming up in my coaching career, people always wanted to know how you're going to average 5 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry. They're coming up with these elaborate blocking schemes, and what are you doing different that I'm not? And he was saying one of his guys that really mentored him was like, hey, I have a better running back. Sometimes it's that simple. One guy is better. Like, why are you averaging 3 yards a carry? What are you running? What type of a run scheme are you doing here? Is it zone? Is it power? Are you running a duo with a double team? Are you running a trap? Are you running a buck? A veer? All these different run schemes. And Marty goes, sometimes it's about your running back. Does he have vision? Does he hit the hole? And that's true. DeAndre Swift is a guy that has vision. He's a guy that hits the hole. He's a guy that runs confidently. And you can see, I'm not saying Gainwell doesn't. DeAndre Swift is just better. He needs to be the lead back for the rest of the season. Obviously, don't wear him down. Who knows how long this guy's had some injuries in the past. You want to keep him healthy, but he's your guy. He's a guy. He's just the better running back.
Hey, listen, I would bet on DeAndre Swift being the primary ball carrier and the main when you really need it going forward.
Started. By the way, he started. He was getting the first couple of series. He was the guy. Then they put game one for series. Now this was a throw ball game to a degree, and then they got up and they just ran it. This is like if you're Brian Johnson, Nick Sirianni, and everyone who's involved in game planning, you're loving this because everything you're doing is working. You just had a couple plays that bogged down. Okay, they'll clean it up, and when they watch the tape in the morning, they watch it at night now. They actually watch it on the way back. But they got to feel pretty good about this.
100%. I'm sure they feel great about it. They're 3-0, and they are dominating people up front on both sides of the ball. And that's why I said I would bet on DeAndre Swift being the guy going forward, because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to pause real quick and talk about our friends from MyBookie, because as a bettor, you demand perfection, and MyBookie delivers. You got NFL, college football, and a brand new cash out system. That gives you options to bet and win all season long. The first two legs of your parlay hit, cash out early and place another bet, or let it ride for the bigger payday. Join the MyBookie family for an entire season filled with daily odds boosts, same game parlays, and super contests. In fact, this season, MyBookie has a no strings attached cash bonus. Who doesn't love a cash bonus? I love cash bonuses. I think it's the greatest part of betting, right? And it lets you deposit and withdraw quick. You just got to use the promo code THEBIRDS. That's in all capitals, The Birds, on a deposit of $50 or more, and you can receive up to $200 in cash instantly to your MyBookie account. You guys like cash bonus, right? Come on.
Of course. Who doesn't?
Of course. It's like straight cash, homie, right? Just like Randy said. All right, so bet your deposit amount once, and you're ready to withdraw at any time. Let's tell you that promo code one more time. It's The Birds in all caps. THEBIRDS. You guys spell it all the time in the stands, right? Well, usually they're spelling, but you can spell The Birds too. You do that, you claim your cash deposit bonus. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. All right, let us get into defense, because I'm not sure if anybody's going to be able to run the ball against the Eagles this year. I mean, they're going to eventually come up to a team that has a better offensive line and a better quarterback play, and probably can get the passing game going to loosen the running game up. But I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody doing what what'd you say?
He said 17-0.
That's right. You know why that's funny, Clay? Because last year we were joined all season long by former Eagles left tackle Trey Thomas on the postgame show, and literally by week 2 or week 3, he was saying 17-0. He had a jersey that said 72 in honor of the 72 Dolphins, the last undefeated team to win the Super Bowl. So for you to just carry on that tradition unknowingly is very funny.
Oh yeah, I always love Trey, man. Great minds think alike.
Absolutely.
I'm glad I could carry that on for Trey.
Absolutely. Will anybody run on this team? Trey, I almost called him Trey. Clay, will anybody run on this team?
I don't think so, man. Jalen Carter, and I know, obviously you guys know I live in Chicago. I grew up a Bears fan, obviously played with the Birds, but I get murdered every time I say, I don't know how the Bears let Jalen Carter get past them at 9. Okay, I understand not taking him at 1, because you're like, okay, he's got issues maybe off the field here or whatever. He showed up a little overweight. Watch the film. Watch the tape. You trade back to 9, and the guy you wanted to take at 1 is still there, and you pass on it. I think Darnell Wright's good, but Jalen Carter is going to be a superstar. I mean, this guy, every time, it's incredible. J.J. Watt. I used to play against J.J. Watt when I played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We had J.J. Watt rules. There's going to be teams coming into every game with Jalen Carter rules. He's a guy that literally changes the rules of the offense. You switch your whole blocking scheme so you can have 4 hands on Jalen Carter like we used to do for J.J. Watt. He was too shifty. He was too powerful. He reminds me so much of what J.J. Watt was able to do because he's those guys. He's a guy that's going to cross you over. You can't put him on an island. He's not just a bull rush guy, strong, powerful run stuffer. This guy's going to be a pass rusher, and you saw it open up things for Fletch on a big sack. He opens up things for the other guys in the D-line.
Yeah.
Incredible. And to answer your question, no, they're not going to be able to run on the Eagles because they have him and Jordan Davis who can both. Jordan Davis showing he can rush the passer too, and he's a great run stuffer. This is going to be a great duo for years to come. And I don't think for as long as these guys are on the team that people are going to be able to run against the Birds.
Adam, I want to say this with all due respect because Mike Mamula is a friend of Inside the Birds. I can't believe it's been 30 years. And he did have a better career than Eagles fans give him credit for. It was just the whole workout wonder thing. But this sort of feels almost 30 years later like the Eagles getting their justice for passing on Warren Sapp.
Oh, was that the same? Okay. Oh, 95.
1995 draft. Yep. Yeah. I mean, the Eagles took Mike Mamula 7th, and just like Clay was saying, there might have been some bad, but we're not talking about the number 1 overall pick here. We're talking about the 7th overall pick, and then Warren Sapp fell to 12th, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafted. Ironically, as that brings it full circle. But yeah, Jalen Carter he's a bad man, and Jordan Davis. This whole Georgia thing is working out pretty well so far.
That's great. Yeah, you saw the graphic during the game. Where they have, is it 5 in the last 2 drafts they've had Georgia players?
Yes, and that didn't even count DeAndre Swift.
Just get guys from Georgia. Drafting
doesn't
have to be hard.
You know what's funny though, Clay? Clay, for years they wouldn't draft Alabama players. Remember that? It was like,
why was that again?
It was weird. I don't know what happened. I was like Devontae Smith was a player.
Yeah, it wasn't just Alabama players. Like Clay, you were part of a team when you were drafted in 2009, right? 10. Sorry, there was like a 4-year stretch, and you may remember this, where the Eagles were taking defensive players from like real small schools, and no offense because you were a Missouri State guy.
Easy about the small school guys.
Chris Gokong, who was a great guy. Brian Thomas from McNeese State. I mean, they were going after these they wanted to throw fastballs and go and find guys at schools you never heard of. Andy Studebaker from Wheaton.
Off YouTube, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah. It almost seemed like they were trying to outsmart themselves, Clay.
I will carry the small school flag with me wherever I go. But when you're watching tape, man, you're watching the guy that's going against Southeast Missouri, Wesleyan, Baptist, Tech, College, or the guy that's going against Alabama, the guy that's going against Auburn every week. You can judge that tape better. I'm not saying there's bad players in the FCS or in these small schools, but the guys that go against week in and week out, 1 week, I mean, sorry, Adam, you're blocking Jalen Carter, if he's going to McNeese State. Like there are some mismatches out there, and it's just harder to judge. You get a guy from Georgia and Alabama, typically on the D-line, O-line, it's easier to see how they project because they're going against NFL caliber players, and it makes it that much easier. You're not saying with asterisks, he had a heck of a play here, but is it because he's going against little school of the blind or whatever, so it matters who you're going against when you come to judging it.
No doubt about it. So look, I almost called them the Seahawks. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers did a lot of things under Dave Canales, right, that we thought they were going to do with him coming over to the Seahawks. A lot of tight ends. There was some 12 and 13 personnel, a lot of pocket movement. They were trying to get Baker rolling out left, rolling out right. And listen, you know what? I thought from a game plan standpoint, it was decent. They're still trying to establish the run in the third quarter, but I sort of agree that if they just tried to drop back every pass, that was going to be disastrous as well. I think Mike Evans is probably going to be upset with himself. I know he had 60 yards and a touchdown, but he dropped what I thought should have been a touchdown. He dropped a third down on the opening drive. I thought Mike Evans had a chance to keep his team in this game.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that the separation started to occur is because he came up small in the first half. Me personally.
Yeah, he did. In fact, Avant and I both had Evans going tonight. We were like, come on, Mike. But the bottom line,
come on, guys.
Yeah, I know. We had to say that. But the bottom line is and we need to talk about this. Blankenship had that awesome pick. Okay, that was a great play. But the story really is Bradbury playing. Now, we don't know if he played 100% slot. We don't have access to the tape right now. Yeah. We know he played it a lot. They had Goodrich inactive, so that was the tip-off. And look, yes. Bottom line is they did an excellent job. They shut down Godwin completely. That was huge. They did a good job against Evans. And now, no offense to the run defense, has been dominant, but they haven't faced an explosive back yet. Rashad White is not explosive. He's a versatile back. He's just not explosive at all.
Right.
Brian Robinson's a good back, but he's not what you would call explosive. And they do face the Dolphins backs in, I think, week 7. Mostert looks former Eagle Raheem Mostert.
And that's fast.
Oh my God, A-Chain. What, they have 6 combined touchdowns? It was to 7? I don't know what the hell they had. It was incredible. But hey, the Eagles defense was dominant tonight. Let's give it up to these guys. They did a great job.
100%. Listen, one thing, Clay, I thought that the Eagles would struggle with this year, and they have not. I thought losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and with all the injuries that were starting to pile up in the back end and newness, I said, you know what? Being a turnover creating defense is probably going to elude this team. I really thought that it would. I believe they have 2 takeaways, though, in each of the first 2 games. Tonight, the Reed Blankenship interception, and then was it Jalen Carter who stripped the ball, or Jordan Davis who stripped the ball from Rashad White right out of his hand? I think it was Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter.
So 2 more takeaways. This is how you win games in the NFL, right? Winning the turnover ratio, and on offense, converting on third down. That's it.
No bigger stat. There's no bigger stat than turnovers. If you can create turnovers, and people talk about, it's the principles, this principle, that team. You have guys that can create turnovers. A guy like Jalen Carter that's a beast in the field that can chase down a play. And I love how people always say, we don't know about his motor. He's not going to play hard. There you see him chase down a play, create a fumble. Reed Blankenship, though, let me talk about him for a second. I've been so impressed with Reed, man. I know obviously he was out last week, but that first week and what he was able to do tonight, I mean, this guy is impressive for an undrafted rookie safety. The amount of ground he covered on that interception, I mean, that's impressive. And this dude is a force in the run game. Watching him on tape in the run game, this guy could play Sam linebacker. Like he plays heavy in the run game, and he's not a liability in coverage. Eagles got to find here. I think this is a guy that we're going to hear about in Philly for the next 10 years. He's one of those guys that is just going to stick around. The fans are going to love him because he makes plays and he plays tough in the run game. And just to allude to what Adam said, the big thing before the game is slot. Who's going to play slot? Bradbury. This guy's a Pro Bowl cornerback. He doesn't have to come inside and play slot. I played with a lot of big-time cornerbacks. Santi Samuel, DRC. I played Slay. I played with a lot of these guys. I'm a Pro Bowl outside. You want me to come in and play slot? No, I play outside. Bradbury takes the challenge, comes in, and you see 1 or 2 catches maybe in the slot to Godwin. What a job by him. That was the big story. How can they guard him in the slot? Godwin in the slot. Bradbury shut him down, and to have no issue coming inside there. Such a great player outside. Hats off to him. Very impressive. That's why this team's so good.
I will say this feels like I agree with you. I want to check the all 22. I want you and Greg to go through that, as you guys will, for Inside the Tape with Clay Harbor and Greg Cosell. He did get beat, I think, in the first quarter inside by Godwin on a 3rd and 3 for about 18 yards. He's playing there all day long. I would like to see, though, if what you see is that he did an excellent job, or if Baker was just rushed and didn't see guys get open on him. Because I was trying. It's hard without aerial footage to really see the job he was doing. It did seem like it was around the ball when he was there. And after that one to Godwin, I don't remember other times him getting beat. So I'm going to go ahead and probably agree that he did a nice job. But obviously the tape will tell the story on that. And I'm sure you guys will have that. Yeah.
Slot corner. No, NFL players know. Obviously quarterback. That's a tough position. You know what the next hardest position is? Try playing slot cornerback. When you're on you don't know if he's breaking in or out. Right. When you're outside in the cornerback, typically a lot of times you got the sideline there. You got the field, you got the sideline to your back. When you're in the slot, it ain't nothing but you and that offensive player, the wide receiver. And if you get a good, quick receiver, that's a lonely place. If you can play slot cornerback, that's why there's not that many good slot cornerbacks. Hear about a few of them. But that is such an important position, and hats off to anybody that can play there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Not to mention the run fits also that you need to have as a slot defender. Which not every cornerback can execute well. Last thing I'll mention, Nolan Smith. People have been asking, when's he going to be on the field? Well, you saw him on the field today. He got some looks in their 5-2 formations. He got a quarterback hit on Mayfield when he climbed the pocket and tried to go deep. So that's good. We'll get more look at him at the All-22 and get back to everybody on that. I want to finish off with injuries, special teams. First, I want to remind everybody to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. So make sure you check them out at phlsportsnation.com and on Twitter at phlsportsnation. Let's pause real quick and hear from our friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
All right, if you happen to see our friends at Sky Motor Cars, go check them out in Westchester, PA. Make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal. So this may be the best special teams day in the Eagles in like 3 years for the Eagles, right? I mean, Jake Elliott makes his field goals. Braden Mann, a couple of nice punts, holds were fine. And if Britton Covey gets a nice little punt return on his first attempt and sets up, I think the first either field goal or touchdown that the Eagles had there. I can't count too many things that went wrong, if anything, on special teams, Adam. And it's been quite a while since we've been able to say that.
Yep, 3 for 3 on field goals. Braden Mann had he only had one punt. It was inside the 20s, 38 yards, but it was where it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Covey had a huge 52-yard punt return. I remember, like, man, what? Don't return this! Don't return this! Oops, I'm wrong. That was a great return. Yeah. He also returned a kick, and so did Devin Allen. So they only returned 2 kicks. And Allen, Allen had a 17-yarder, wasn't explosive, and Covey did. He had one. So you're right. And also, they also had a safety. I love that. I love that signal for the safety, because the defensive players are like, they're looking at the refs. Come on, man, signal it. He did.
Can I just tell you guys that I cannot believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tried to run the ball there up the middle.
Yeah,
like on, all right, maybe run a sweep. Maybe run Nicholas an orbit motion wide receiver. Maybe do something a little cunning, or just try to throw a quick. I mean, are you really trying to run the ball up the middle while you were 3 yards deep in your own end zone?
Yeah, that was shocking, man. And obviously Morrow came away with the tackle right there. But I honestly think, guys, I probably could have made that tackle on that
play. Man, you're tough on these guys.
It seems like a lot of stuff happened in the game tonight that any one of us could have done.
I know. That's how much they dominate him. That tells you, right? Tells you.
Yeah, you got to get a thank you card to some of these D linemen up there, man. It makes the job easier. Like you see in Chicago right now, it's like the linebackers. You got Tremaine Edmonds, and you got, obviously you got TJ Edwards, and like these are big time linebackers, but it's tough for those guys. If you don't got a good D line in front of you, things are different. You're in front of the Chicago Bears defensive line. The D linemen are just getting rolled over on their way to you. It changes the game, makes it tough for those backers, man.
Yeah, I remember when we first had you on, Clay, on Inside the Birds. I think it was on a podcast. It was the off season, and you sent out the warning flag. You said, you know what? I watched TJ Edwards. He's fantastic. Tremaine Edmonds, fantastic. But without any defensive linemen in front of these guys, they're not going to be clean. They're going to get banged up. And even if they play well, they're going to feel it the next day. And you thought it would be difficult for them to sustain over 17 games. So, yeah. I mean, I think you're seeing that with Chicago's defense.
Get your money when you're playing with the Eagles. Like obviously Miles Sanders got paid after being the right. DeAndre Swift, perfect for him. He's going to come in as a free agent after playing behind the Eagles' offensive line. Like, the line matters so much. There's nothing more important than the line of scrimmage. Who wins that battle most of the time is going to win the game.
100%. 2 injuries we got to have to monitor over the next few days. Justin Evans, I couldn't believe this. Justin Evans in the first quarter left with a neck injury and did not return. So I suspect what we saw was Terrell Edmonds was playing that other safety spot. We did see some Sidney Brown. So I'm sure that there was some rotation there. Yeah, he made a big play. But I also saw some Terrell Edmonds, but Reed Blankenship obviously there. And then Bradbury was the nickel a lot. And then on the other side, we saw Landon Dickerson limp off the field and Sua Opeta come in. So obviously, I don't know how many more guys the Eagles can lose on the back end. Offensive player here and there, okay, but they keep losing guys on the back end of their defense. But The front end just keeps picking up and compensating for him, Adam.
Yeah. By the way, Dickerson was listed. A couple things there. Evans was ruled out of the game. This is questionable early in the first quarter. Then they ruled him out, which means obviously this is a concern. It's a neck injury. You're always concerned about that.
Yeah.
And Dickerson was not really ruled out, but they never had to put him back in because they had the game. The game was up, as you said. They put Suapet in, who's their top backup guard right now. And by the way, 51 Jurgens is playing well. We should probably mention that. He's really getting that right guard position pretty well. Won it. In fact, never really had to compete for it because they handed him the job to start training camp, but he did a good job to keep the job. Did a good job to keep it. So this is a really good game for them. There's just, I mean, what else could you possibly say? It's a pretty dominant win. They won by 14. It seems like they won by 40. They just absolutely just crushed the Bucks. It was not as close. It was not close as the score might have indicated. Only a 14-point game.
Yeah, I think the safety was very emblematic of the night for the Bucks. It's like they just could not move the ball the way they wanted to, and they paid the price. It was funny because Aikman said it right. You're thinking, you're a Bucks fan. You see this unbelievable interception by, what was his name again? The corner, the backup.
D. Delaney. Yeah.
Delaney. And you're like, wow, what a great play. And Aikman's on the broadcast saying, nah, they're going to get the ball at the 1. And this is a real problem for Tampa Bay.
I know. Good job by Troy.
It would have been better off just hitting the ball down.
Bet that one down, man. Come on.
Yeah. So listen, the Eagles are going to do something next week that they have not done all year. Any guesses on what that is, fellas?
Play a 1:00 game.
Yes, that's right. They're going to play a 1:00 game. That means Inside the Birds pre-game live will start at 10 a.m. for the first time, our normal slot usually. And then, of course, after the game, probably around 4:30-ish, when the Eagles are done with Washington, then it'll be us three again for Inside the Birds post-game live presented by MyBookie. Want to thank everybody for watching. For Adam Caplan, former Eagles tight end Clay Harbor, I'm Geoff Mosher. You've been watching Inside the Birds post-game live. Thank you to our producer, Jimmy Hyden. Does a great job as always. We'll see you guys next week.